Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Marcin Tybura. There's a couple reasons I love this fight. And if you watch my videos in the past, you know that I have a lot of love for Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And you look at some of the areas where we've picked him as a spot for us. I mean, the Augusto Sakai fight, I was on that so fast. And I even made him the Super Saiyan pick. And look at the outcome there. The one thing I've always talked about with him is even if you really pick apart that Ngannou finish, there's something there that I really believe as a striker, he's got it. Now, he's not a Ciryl Gane, and he's not a Ngannou, but in that top tier of strikers, the heavyweight division, I think he's got something there, and I think he's got good defense. He moves his head well. The big problem with him is the takedowns. And you look at the Marcin Tybura, game plan. Over the course of his whole career, it's like take a few blows, realize you probably can't strike with a few guys, and then look for takedowns. But now, here's the thing. You talk about technical strikers. You talk about guys like Volkov. How good is Jairzinho Rozenstruik's takedown defense compared to a guy like Volkov? I mean, it's a higher percentage at 75 versus 71%, I believe. I think Volkov's at 71 and Jairzinho's at 75. But you really have to consider the fact that Marcin Tybura couldn't land one of 16 takedown attempts against Volkov. So he went 0 for 16, put up a duck. And in this fight, you kind of go back to the Blades fight, right? How good do you stack up Blades' takedown game and wrestling game versus a lot of the guys who implement it as a game plan, like a Tybura, who, might want to strike, but then realizes he's got to kind of implement some grappling to keep his fight in his corner. I think that's the difference there. And how was Blades able to take Jairzinho down so easily? I mean, it was a lot of momentum, right? You kind of see Jairzinho has this really bad habit of when he throws wildly, I mean, not only did Blades time that well, but it just looks sloppy even from a defending perspective. It's like if someone off the street was to be taken down. And that's not a knock on Jairzinho. I mean, I love the guy, literally. But if you're just backpedaling like that on a takedown, I mean, chances are that momentum or even a quick sweep that like he did in the first round, I believe, that's the MO of a wrestler. And to be honest, that defense has me scared for any type of fight where Jairzinho is going up against a guy that might want to entertain some grappling. Now, 0 for 16 against Volkov still tells you that Marcin Tybura enjoys, trying to go for those takedowns. And I think if Jairzinho can't do a lot of damage in that first round, because I think he does some of his best work when he's confident in the first 3-4 minutes of a fight. It helps him dictate where that fight's going for the rest of the 3 rounds if it goes that far. And if he doesn't gain that confidence early, it could be a tough fight for him. And that's where, for me, as much as I want to just blindly say Jairzinho is going to win this fight, unfortunately, he's given us enough tape to suggest that, I don't think he's going up against some Ngannou striker where he's going to be kind of a guy that may look like the worst striker when it's all said and done. But he is going up against a guy that is able to take a few punches pretty well and then reset his game plan to then just go pure grappling. And the same thing can be said for a guy like Greg Hardy, right? That was a blind lay on Marcin Tybura that day because, frankly, the creativity of strikes from Greg Hardy just isn't enough for me. So you can have all the power in the world, but if you don't know how to set them up and you don't have multiple ways of executing said power, I think that's going to be, a very easy, readable game plan by guys like Tybura, guys in this heavyweight division who have pretty much seen anything and everything at this point in their careers. So that's where, for me, Jairzinho has a bit of an edge there. He is a pure kickboxer. He's got good head movement. He's got good setups, too. I think the leg kicks he needs to watch out. I think that he also needs to just be very weary of throwing wildly because even against Blades, there were just, all Blades needed were, 2 takedowns, or I should say 1 in each round, where he was able to kind of just keep control for almost 2 minutes and win those rounds. And that's what Jairzinho wants to avoid because, unfortunately, in MMA, when you get guys to the ground and you're able to, not only show that you're trying to gain position or you have good ground and pound coming in, or you're even attempting submissions, they're not going to stand you up. And I think in a lot of cases that we've seen, guys like Jairzinho are the type to just hold guard. Hold guard till they stand you back up. So if he's not able to do that and he's going to eat shots and he's going to have guys consistently trying to, transition to a better position, that's going to be a problem. And this is a fight where I think Jairzinho as a fighter is going to be able to tell himself, am I UFC caliber? I think that if the wrestling game and grappling game of Marcin Tybura takes over and he ends up winning a 3-round decision, that's a big thing for Jairzinho to step away and be like, well, where do I stand here? Should I take some time away to really improve this wrestling game of mine? Because, you look at a guy like Kevin Holland, that's exactly what he did. He got a quick taste of the top tier at middleweight. And not only did he improve on his wrestling, but he actually decided to move down in weight. And I think we're about to see a brand new Kevin Holland for the next year or two. And in this case, not that I want to see Jairzinho go fight at light heavyweight, but it's just you want to see him be able to overcome those areas where he seems to be the most vulnerable. And again, if you're losing striking battles to guys like Ngannou and Gane, that's okay, because you're losing to the best in the world at what they do. So if you're number 3 on that list, I mean, it is what it is, right? In this case, though, he is middle of the pack when it comes to guys that have the mixing up ability, that may choose to go takedown first versus strike with you. And that's where this fight just becomes a lot more questionable. But for me, I still like Jairzinho as a minus 150. I think that Tybura might get desperate. 0 for 16 stands out a lot against a guy like Volkov, but that's where, for me, Jairzinho's career kind of hangs in the balance here, just for me personally, because it's going to have a lasting effect on my thought process on just how to analyze him as a fighter moving forward. Because, again, outliers can be there with striking guys like Gane or wrestlers like Blades for how good they are at what they do. But then you get a Tybura who's just a very good mixed martial artist and can mix it up well. That's going to be a pretty big tell as to where Jairzinho's game is as an MMA fighter. So let's stick with Jairzinho as a minus 150. I just think his paths to victory are very real, and we've seen Tybura lose like that. But again, as we said, there are paths to victory for Marcin as well. But let's take a look at the line here. And yeah, pretty consistent, right? So what did we say? We said minus 150. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. So we got Jairzinho opening as a minus 138. And right now, you can see him as about a minus 163. But on average, he's about a minus 150 to a minus 155. And, I can't help but agree with that line. I just think that the paths to victory, there's a higher probability of him executing. But just don't be surprised if you see him on his back one or two times in 3 rounds where he just kind of loses a close decision to, the better grappler. So that should be fun. Stay tuned.